Whole show going crazy. Whole show going crazy. Top 5 we debating.
Top 5, top 5, top 5. 5 Over Friends, the show where we debate our top 5 list on a topic chosen by a listener with the listener.
As usual, our friendship goes out the door once we get into it. This is 5 Over Friends.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to another episode of 5 Over Friends. We're already on episode 10. This week, we have a guest, Casey. She's a friend of mine. She is joining us. Casey, introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Casey. I met Wes at NC State, where I work now. So I work with college students, and I know they're excited to listen. So give a shout out to them because we talked about it all day at work. I'm from North Carolina, but military kid growing up, so moved all over the place. And now I work in higher education. So hoping to stay in Raleigh for the rest of forever and get a great experience here. But we have, I think, a great topic because I am officially in mourning over not getting a Summer Olympics this year. The Olympics is like a huge deal to me. My parents love to visit Olympic like parks and all that. And growing up, like we would go get antennas specifically to watch the Olympics. Like we do it up big. So not getting to do this year, especially working from home, would have been like ideal. So decided to suggest the topic so I could I guess give my suggestions for the very best because like I go deep. Like we're watching TBS coverage, we're watching USA coverage, we're getting it all.
And now there's the Olympic channel too, right? So I'm sure they would have had a whole bunch of coverage, additional coverage from years past. But yeah, top 5 Summer Olympic sports, I think, is what we finally decided on, right?
Yes.
And I was definitely bummed to not have it this year. I feel like Olympics are one of those times where everybody
America
is watching
like
the
it
same
comes
thing.
together.
It's just like there's TV shows where you get like your like maybe your friend groups all watching the same TV show and that's your appointment television. But the Olympics is everyone watching the same thing, and that's just awesome.
It's like the only time I watch NBC.
Like avoiding all the spoilers if you're not in the right time zone. Like I don't want to know who got gold. I gotta wait. But that was my favorite part of like I can't check social media. I need to know organically and watch at like 2 a.m. when it's actually on. So I'll kick us off with my number 5. And I went kind of niche. I discovered watching the sport in during the London Olympics, but table tennis, specifically partners table tennis, is insane to watch. I also really love that it's a sport where like I can't identify you as an Olympian. Like it could be a 43-year-old German man named like Bastian, and I would have no clue that he's an Olympian. Really love that. I like that it's a miniature version of a larger sport that's also played. So you got table tennis and regular tennis. I like that juxtaposition and what it brings to the table. And I think like it's just something that like I can watch basketball most of the time in the US and like table tennis is just not something that's getting coverage. So I think those are always the really cool sports that you just don't think about. So that is why I picked it as my number 5.
Brings to the table, was that pun intended?
It wasn't, but I there.
I cannot hate on table tennis or the layman's term ping pong. I can't hate on it. I'm a big fan of that as well. Spoiler alert, I guess.
I like table tennis. I love, speaking of college, like I played table tennis like till 6 a.m. every single night because I freaking love table tennis. I may have been preparing myself for the future Olympics, but
that you didn't make.
That I didn't make. But like Forrest Gump out there, it reminds me of Forrest Gump, right? It's like taking it on. But yeah, I have nothing negative to say about table tennis. That is a good way to kick off the show, I think, with some miniature tennis.
All right, so I'll get into my 5. I said the beach volleyball. That's my 5. I really enjoy that versus the typical volleyball. It's a lot of fun. The 2-person teams it's like I don't know why that's more fun to watch to me than the regular 8-person volleyball? I don't even remember. It's more fun to watch to me, and it's also kind of makes you feel like that's something I can go out and do like in the summer on the beach if we set up a net or A lot of pools have volleyball nets set up outside, and you're like, yeah, I can do that. Like I can spike it in somebody's face on the sand. Like that's easy. So I don't know why. I've always enjoyed watching that, and that's my 5.
I enjoy watching the doubles beach volleyball as well. Myself, personally, I tend to watch more of the females volleyball on the beach. That's just a personal preference. I know, Wes, you probably don't feel the same way, but I do.
Of course, I like to watch the males in their
Yes. Well, you like to, try to compare yourself, your 5'9" physique or whatever it is, against those guys. Pretend that you can spike the ball over the volleyball net. But
I was about to say, I admire beach volleyball, and it's on my list solely because I'm 5'1", and I admire the athletic feats of tall people.
Yeah, right? Like,
really can't imagine.
I can only imagine, and I can only wish that I could do many of these things. But yeah, I mean, I watch it. They hype it up really well too. I feel like the broadcast, like, she's 36 years old. This is her 4th. I can't remember what her name was, because
Misty May Trainer, and that when that
yeah, I think that's
she's the real popular one. I feel
like. Yeah, she's like, she's going for her 4th medal or whatever. But yeah, I watched plenty of beach volleyball.
And I think it's cool with the beach volleyball. There's typically more than one American team too. So you get to watch and kind of pull for both of them, or however many of them there are, to make it through to further rounds. So that's pretty cool.
Because like sports like that, like we don't know that we're definitely going to get gold. Like there's some where U.S. is a lock, but I don't know enough about beach volleyball. I feel like Australia.
Yeah, they're always in it, aren't they? Like,
and I think Brazil too is always really good.
It's that will they, won't they? Like there's an actual struggle. I think that brings something to the table.
Yeah, it's the all warm climate type countries that are very good at that. And they've done such a good job of marketing that kinetic tape. It's like, I feel like they are really strong on the kinetic tape bandwagon, but I digress. All right, my number 5 today is Taekwondo. So this is my like little niche sport here that I like to watch. There's a personal meaning for me, because I used to be in Taekwondo when I was a little youngster. Started Taekwondo when I was 5, got my black belt at 8, and I finished Taekwondo with a recommended 2nd degree black belt. So it has like a nostalgic value to me watching those guys do what they do. And knowing that at one point, actually, you speak of preparing for the Olympics, Wes, I was actually on the track to potentially be in Taekwondo at those high levels. But, when you're 5'9", it's difficult to stop some of those long arms and long feet. But yes, Taekwondo, for those of you who do not know, it's more kick-based style of martial arts. But that is my number 5.
I'm glad the state of U.S. Taekwondo didn't need you to go win us gold.
Well, you have big aspirations at 10 years old, and then you pick team sports over that. It used to be Taekwondo like 3 or 4 nights a week for me, and I just got burned out as a little kid. Mm-hmm. I wanted to be with my friends, and they were playing baseball and they were playing basketball. So
I don't watch much of the Taekwondo, but other than the dig on you for trying to be an Olympic Taekwondo medalist, I don't have much negative to say about it.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad one. I just don't understand it as much. Like the wrestling, like boxing, I kind of get because I understand the scoring. But any type of like martial art, I understand how it's a sport, but I'll understand like how you score. So I would watch it, but I would have no idea what's going on. Just hoping everyone has a good time. That's
oh gosh! If you're not first, you're last. I thought you learned this from last week's episode.
I just hope both teams have fun. But everyone has fun.
Did you learn how to scissor kick people in the back of the head in Taekwondo?
Absolutely. So yeah, Taekwondo is my number 5. Like I said, it's got a little nostalgia for me. I understand that it's pretty niche, but That's got a place for me. My number 4, just going right into it, is men's basketball. That's my number 4. I like the fact that it's actual professional athletes out there playing. I know a lot of other sports like baseball, it's a lot of college guys out there playing, and I like seeing my favorite NBA athletes out there on the court. And now that other countries are getting better at basketball and it's becoming more popular in other countries, I feel like the competition is at a higher level than what it had been previously, like with the dream team back in the day. So you got like Luka Doncic from Slovenia, of course the Gasol brothers, Giannis from Greece. So you've got a lot of talent out there that has come from other countries to the NBA, and you get to see the American NBA players go up against the international players. So I really like basketball, and it helps that USA is like really good at it. So I like it when we win gold, and we do it fairly often. So basketball, number 4.
I'll piggyback on what Casey said earlier. Just because that's something you get to watch year round every year, that's what kept it off of my list. I obviously love to watch basketball, but I think the true special, I guess, sports from the Olympics, the ones that are the ones that you don't get to see quite as often, the ones that you don't pay attention to except every 4 years. So that kept it off of my list. Love basketball, but as far as a top 5 Olympic sports, it's something we get all year round anyway. So that's my knock on basketball for the top 5 list.
And I like when I don't know if we're gonna I like when the USA we're not quite sure. It's iffy, but I feel like with basketball, luckily it's getting better. But I remember in 2008 watching the games where it was 110-34, and we're just running them. You just feel bad. So.
Oh, I don't feel bad.
I'm glad the competition is getting better, because it's always that one country that sends a swimmer that they qualified, but it's
oh, they qualified. They would have been high school JV in America, but they qualified.
If I lived in this country, I too could be an Olympian. But
well, I understand what you say about being able to watch basketball essentially whenever. But I like that we have a lot of the superstars kind of focused on the same goal rather than competing against each other. It's not every day you get to see LeBron and RIP Kobe on the same team, with the same goal. And you get to see, you always hear about their competitive fire when they're going against each other, but when they all have the same goal and all determined, you get those 120-34 scores. So I like that aspect of it. You don't normally get to see guys like that competing with each other rather than against each other.
Yeah, that makes sense. Gotta always find something to dig on about with your list though. So that's my dig. So I'll go on with my 4. Table tennis, a callback from earlier, the spoiler that I called out. That's a fun one because I feel like just about everybody grew up being able to play ping pong, table tennis, whatever you want to call it, somewhere at a friend's house, at your house, at daycare, whatever. That's a sport. I use the term sport.
If it's in the Olympics, it's a sport, buddy.
Okay, that's a sport that everyone has played, and you can imagine yourself playing ping pong. That shot was incredible. I could never do that. And it's with swimmers, not everybody was on the swim team, so they didn't do the butterfly or all those different swimming things, or not everybody could dive
swimming things.
Not everybody did jumped off the high dive or did gymnastics. Ping pong was something everybody played, and that I think that translation, it makes it more fun to watch because you understand the game. So that's my 4.
They are some incredible battles too. Yeah. I mean, guys are running 20 feet side to side, back and forth. It's really fun to watch. It's exciting and entertaining because it's like tennis, but it's on steroids because it's so much quicker, I feel like.
And Casey's point to the fact that you can look at them and they look like some average Joe and they're an Olympic athlete. That's every person's dream, just to be able to be lazy and not look like a physical specimen, but still be an Olympic athlete.
Shout out Joey Chestnut.
I want to know what a table tennis like training routine looks like. Like, are you doing like quick sprints across the floor? Like, it's got to be crazy. I'd love a documentary on Olympic table tennis. If Netflix would like to pay me for my idea, I'll take their money.
All right, Casey, number 4.
So my number 4 is diving. And the reason I chose this one was not like I didn't grow up thinking diving was like the coolest thing ever, but I went to the U.S. trials for diving when I was in middle school because it was at the University of Tennessee campus. My parents went there. And before my mom went to UT, she was the diving athletic trainer at Louisville. So she has always been like super into collegiate diving. Neither my brother or I like learned how to dive. Like I can dive off the edge of a pool, but not anything like this. But it's cool on the TV, and then in person it's absolutely insane, like how close they are to the board. I think that is what does it. And then just the general lack of, I think a lot of Olympic sports are impressive, just the general lack of fear to like throw yourself backwards off of something above the water, I think is very impressive. I also like it because it seemed like synchronized diving, another aspect of it is really cool, like just having that communication with a teammate. So I've always found this to be very impressive. And you have to know how to swim. So it's like 3 things in one. So diving is my number 4 choice.
I like it. I don't watch much of the diving. And to me, diving is like terrifying because I'm afraid of heights. So it's impressive that they can do it, but it doesn't tickle my fancy for watching.
Do you tend to lean more toward diving, board diving, or platform diving, Casey? Do you care?
Springboard synchronized, I think is the coolest.
Springboard
like,
synchronized.
They do it all like they do the video and they like circles. They're like her toe is 3 centimeters farther than her toe, so it's a 3.
I feel like with diving, I really like the fact. I think the commentators are so good and the analysts are so good that I really appreciate that, and they make me appreciate it more, right? Because like you said, her toe was 3 centimeters out. I'm never going to notice that as the layman sitting on my couch, but when they break it down in slow-mo and you can kind of see the little nuances, and for the judges to be able to kind of see that in real time, I think is amazing. So I actually really like diving. I watch it quite a bit, but it did not make my list, spoiler alert, but I do like diving, and I can appreciate your number 4. All right, so hit us with your number 3.
All right, my number 3 is beach volleyball. Just because, as I said, I'm impressed by tall people and their ability to do things that I can't. And I think, they do a really good job with coverage. It's fun to watch. And I think like having the crowd aspect, I feel like it's one of the better Olympic crowds. At least it was, I guess the last time I remember watching it a lot was in Rio. And I guess that was probably one of the most hype crowds they had because it's Brazil. But I think it just seems really fun. I can barely like walk in sand. Like, don't make me try to take a beach walk. Like, I'll get tired and cranky and I got to go back. So the thought of playing a sport for hours in sand, I'm very impressed by that because I can't. It's just too much.
And they probably have sand in every nook and cranny by the time they're done too. Oh,
I can't imagine.
Yeah, that would suck. Yeah.
All right.
I think I've said everything I can say about beach volleyball. I like beach volleyball, and I am very impressed with the athletic capabilities because, like you said, I go on a short, maybe 50-yard jog on the beach, and I'm done. So.
And the bottom of my feet are burning too from the sand.
Right, yeah, and they're doing it in the middle of summer, in the middle of the day most of the time, right? It's like 120 degrees.
Yeah.
In the sand.
Exactly. So, all right, I'll move on with my 3. This is probably some people's favorites in the world for sure with all the coverage that it gets. So I'm going. It's gymnastics. So I really enjoy watching the gymnastics. It's super impressive what they can do. It's not like in my wheelhouse of like things that I would ever watch outside of the Olympics or even care about outside of the Olympics, but just the things that they can do with their body, the flips, the jumps, all of it, the uneven bars, the horse, isn't that what it's called?
Pommel horse.
The pommel horse, just all that. I don't know terms. I'm not a gymnastics guy.
Just as number 3.
I don't know terms. I didn't sit up here and like Google gymnastic terms for my third pick on my list, but it's impressive to watch. So they made it come in at third, and they do get a lot of coverage. I feel like gymnastics is one of the probably 2 or 3 that get the most prime time spot coverage, because that's one of the more popular ones. So it falls at number 3.
I can't say a thing bad about gymnastics, except for, USA Gymnastics as an organization, garbage. The sport of gymnastics in the Olympics, amazing.
Yes, with you there, Casey.
And I have a whole rant about gymnastics that I'll say for my later pick.
All right, Seth, what's your 3?
All right, my 3 is track and field. I just kind of picked all aspects of track and field. I think that's allowable. So, the 100-yard dash in general is like the most exciting, thrilling 10 seconds in sports. And I really like the field events personally. I like the javelin throw, the hammer throw, of course, the high jump. I think the triple jump is super underrated. I feel like that takes incredible amount of skill to time your jumps out like that. And I know you watch the Olympics, and of course, being a young gentleman like myself, I go out there and I'm like, I could do this, and then, go sprain an ankle or pull a hammy my first time out there. So yeah, and we've had a lot of familiar faces in track and field. I feel like when I was growing up, like the 96 Olympics was Michael Johnson, and now it's like Usain Bolt has kind of taken over. And then shout out Caitlyn Jenner for the gold medal in the decathlon. And of course, you got the greats like Jackie Joyner-Kersee and folks of that nature. So yeah, my number 3, track and field. I think it's great. It is so eclectic. And I personally really like relays. I like team events. So when they have to, take part of the relay, I like that, because they're bringing a team aspect to what is typically an individual sport. So track and field, number 3.
I like aspects of track and field. I think some of it gets like repetitive when you're having to watch. I think like the prime time, like final races, great. I think the lead up to it with all the different heats, I think that gets, so I can't imagine watching it in person. But when they're showing you like the clips in prime time, that I do enjoy. And I think the sprints are crazy because I can't even walk. Like, again, I'm slow, short-legged. Like, I can't do anything athletically impressive. So, and the fact that they run with jewelry on a lot, that's always baffled my mind, that they're just like running with all these necklaces on.
Oh yeah.
And I think
you
about
gotta look good. You perform better when you look better.
Yes. I can't imagine, but yes, the sprinting is super impressive, and I do like the relays. And I'll watch the end of the marathon just because I feel like it ties in so well with the Olympics.
Yeah, I love the sprinting. I love all the quick ones, like you said. The 100-meter dash is probably the most exciting single short event of the Olympics. It's just 10 seconds of go as fast as you can, and like everybody's captivated for that. There's some aspects of like track and field that I don't really get or enjoy watching, but I can't hate on the pick because I think the sprinting definitely carries the track side of things, and that's, I love watching the sprint. And I think with Usain Bolt, the last few Olympics, it's been kind of appointment television to see what he was going to do.
Just how fast he's going to run.
Exactly.
Like, he was going to win. We everyone knew it.
It was just, is
like,
he going to
how
break
fast
records?
is he going to do? Yeah, exactly. All right. So I guess we're on to my number 2 then, which is swimming. Swimming is must-see TV for me. Summer Olympics. I think it all probably started Michael Phelps, Of course, he was incredible for so long. I hate to see that, what has become of Michael Phelps, just like what has become of Lance Armstrong. But, during those times, it was the most thrilling Olympic event in the world, and it just really took over all of news media. It wasn't just ESPN, it wasn't just the sports part of the broadcast on nightly television. It was, it took over everything. And I feel like Missy Franklin did that a lot at the last Olympics. Like, she took it over. And then you've got like Natalie Coughlin and Katie Ledecky. And a long time ago, everybody, I never saw Mark Spitz swim, but from everything I hear, he was amazing. I mean, he had all the records before Michael Phelps came and took them away. But I also, it's one of those sports where there's also the relay, so there's that team aspect of it, and I really like that too, especially the 400-meter medley, where they each kind of get to do what they train to do all the time, and it's really just our best four against your best four, the rest of the world, and I really like that. So swimming, number 2, it's must-see TV.
You're not going to get an argument there from me. Like you said, must-see TV. You said it all, and we'll probably visit that at some point in the next 5 or 10 minutes here.
Multiple revisits, I think.
Yeah. So I'll go with my number 2. You said track and field a minute ago, Seth. I went just track. Like I said, I don't always watch all the field stuff, but the sprints alone do it for me. And just, I think our generation at least is kind of spoiled with the sprints, because we did have Usain Bolt, and that became like, let's see what he's going to do this time. Like, what is he going to break the record? Is he going to do the fastest ever? How much is he going to beat the second place person by? You've got to tune in just to watch that. So that for me, the 100-meter dash alone gets track at number 2. So that you've already said a lot of the things about it, so not a whole lot more to say. But
well, I feel like just one other thing for me to add from my perspective is I also enjoy sneakers a lot, and I'm always interested to see what cleats they're going to bust out for that last, final 100-meter dash, because they always bring out something crazy or something personalized. And all of the footwear companies put a ton of money into those, just that one pair of shoes. I mean, they'll put $1 million into that one pair of shoes. So, from that perspective, it's just another layer of why I like watching the 100-meter dash.
And typically that, like, every 4 years they'll bust out like a new technology as a part of of shoes, like with I know Nike, the last one, and Puma too, I think, with Usain, came up with like all new designs for the track shoes.
And the uniforms are better than I think a lot of sports. Just in general, like, I guess because you have Nike so invested in it, they're like, I might as well put everything together and make it nice. But it is a more stylish sport if you have to pick.
It is a stylish sport. I like that.
All right, so that's my 2. Let's hear your 2, Casey.
All right, so my number 2 is swimming. I taught swim lessons for 6 years, so every time there was an Olympics, our numbers like shot up because everyone wanted their kid to be the next Michael Phelps, and I think we benefited a lot from growing up in the Michael Phelps era and getting to see that. Another reason I love swimming so much is Cullen Jones and Ryan Held from NC State, 2 Olympic swimming medalists. Got to shout them out. And then the queen of Olympic callouts, Lily King, who accused her competitor of cheating, her Russian competitor. And I remember that like blowing up on Twitter. And I really love like this 20-year-old who was doing like press interviews afterwards talking about how everyone else is cheating. Love that and love her. Can't wait to see her at 2021 because I do like a little bit of like petty competitiveness in my athletes. I think like you don't get to the Olympics for being like a stable person.
Like a nice person. Yeah.
So I really enjoy that kind of personality, especially in swimming, which can be so individual or so team-based. I think she's just a fun personality to watch. So I'm excited to see her compete again.
I feel like there's a lot of organic rivalries that come from swimming too, which I really enjoy. And again, the broadcast does such a good job of hyping up these rivalries that I just buy right into it. I mean, they can have all my viewing dollars that they want because I'm all in.
And I feel like even within the American team, like they even try to play up rivalries with each other. So
Oh yeah,
that's
for
pretty
sure.
cool.
In the world championships last year, you know, so and so beat them.
And they've known each other for like they've been swimming against each other since they were like 6 years old. It's in deep, which I think makes it like a whole cool little subculture.
Yeah,
of Olympians.
And you made a good point about the Olympic athletes. I think just about all of them, if not all of them, there's a little bit of crazy in there somewhere to get to that point. So it's like they've all got that in there.
Well, especially sports like swimming, like they don't make very much money other than like being a swim instructor or providing, you know, private lessons, things like that. They don't make a lot of money. Like their entire life and all the money they do make goes right back into their sport. And they don't get a lot of acknowledgement, but once every 4 years. So yeah, it takes a special person, and I definitely can appreciate everything that they put into it.
All right, time for my number one, which is gymnastics. And it's all for one individual, and that's Miss Simone Biles, Queen of the United States. Love her. If you have moves that only you can pull off and they name them after you, I feel like they just got to wrap it up. Like, we're done. I think gymnastics is awesome in general and like amazing in general because a lot of times we forget like these are children. Like a lot of the Olympians, especially out of the US and China and Brazil, are like 14, 15 when they're qualifying, and then like maybe 16, 17 when they're there. And I can't imagine, like, I could barely function in high school because of like the pressure of everything. I can't imagine being an Olympian on top of that. And the fact that it's one of those sports where like you can't go to normal school and you have to homeschool and like travel all the time and train like 10 hours a day. And just the sheer amount of like impact it has on their body, I can't imagine. It's like I danced growing up and my knees are trash, so I can't imagine like how they feel walking around every day. But I'm just always very, very impressed with them. And then I feel like they're just America's sweethearts for those couple weeks that they're at the Olympics and right afterwards, especially if they win the all around, which I mean, we pretty much always do because we're good. But gymnastics is ride or die. I'll miss most of the Olympics if I can just watch gymnastics. Love it.
And I think that's a good point about the gymnastics, that while all of the sports they put countless hours into, I feel like gymnastics is probably one of the most, if not the most. Just the sheer amount of time that they put into it. You can only, I mean, with swimming, they train a lot of other different ways and track and field too, but like as far as strength training or weightlifting or whatever. But I feel like gymnastics, it's they're out there doing the actual event, so to speak, training every day in and day out, the uneven bars, the flipping, all of that. They're putting the most time into that.
You got one piece of equipment. Did you go? You were like, gymnastics equipment. Let me Google it.
I didn't Google it. I remember the name of that one. It's kind of self-explanatory because there's two bars and they're not at the same.
They are uneven.
Uneven bars. It's an incredibly expensive sport too. I mean, Casey, you talked about traveling. I mean, the parents of those kids, like you called them, I mean, yeah, it is incredibly expensive. And most of them start out, you know, through competitive cheer or dancing or tumbling, things like that. And that on its own gets expensive. But when you start getting into the national scouting and recruiting and all of that whole circle, I mean, that's a lot of dedication on both the kids and the parents' part, which I think leads to some of those things that you are alluding to earlier with the U.S. national team, unfortunately. But yeah, we get the all-around gold like every time, and there's nothing better than that, right?
Yeah, I just remember the controversy with the fake birth certificates, maybe.
Oh yeah, yep.
And I was like 14 years old, heated. I was like, how dare they try to taint the quality of gymnastics?
This is a blessed sport.
How dare you try?
Do not smear.
Like every country's not trying to do the absolute most to get themselves ahead, but yeah, I remember that being like national news. I was invested.
No doubt.
All right, I'll move on to my one next, and it's one that's been mentioned already, and we're going swimming. It's been mentioned. We were fortunate to be um, of viewing age during the Michael Phelps era. He was just incredible. It was, I mean, for 2 days you're like, I can't wait till it's Michael Phelps swim day, and then that day it's like all day long. It's all you cared about was like what time is Michael Phelps swimming, and then I mean we kind of recaptured that the last Olympics with Missy Franklin, like you said too. It was that became again appointment television. You got to watch her race. You got to watch every event she's in and see if she's going to win. So swimming makes the top spot for me. Not much more to be said about it that hasn't already been. So.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I can't argue. That was my number 2, so can't really dog you on that one. So I guess it's around to my final number 1. And Casey, you'll be glad to hear that it is gymnastics. More specifically, women's gymnastics. I do like men's gymnastics, and I like the pommel horse, and I like the rings, and the parallel bars. I like, their specific sports, but there is no greater competitive Olympic sport than women's gymnastics, in my opinion. You already mentioned Simone Biles, but we can't forget about Gabby. Gabby was my girl before Simone was my girl. And then before that was Shawn Johnson out there getting those dubs. Nastia Lukin, Dominique Dawes from back in the day. And then one of my favorite Olympic moments of all time was Carrie Strug after she landed that jump, and then she fell into her coach's arms in the 96 Olympics to solidify that gold for the women's team. I mean, that is when I think about Olympics, that's probably the paramount moment that I think about, at least from my lifetime. So gymnastics was really, it was like 1A, 1B between gymnastics and swimming for me. It was kind of a coin flip, but I definitely have to watch the women's gymnastics when it's on, just like the swimming I mentioned earlier, but even more so gymnastics. I love seeing if we're going to win the all-around gold. I love seeing if our team's going to win the gold. Yeah, and Simone just makes it better because she's in a league of her own. It's her against everybody else who's going to get the silver.
Yeah. And I love I think the parent reactions. That's something they started, I guess, with Allie Raceman's parents, where they have
Allie
going. I think that's always great because I feel like with such a small team, you get to know everything about them, and I enjoy getting to watch their parents be so excited because I feel like it's highlighted across a bunch of sports, but I feel like that's one where you get to know everybody's family too, and get to watch them be excited for their kid.
I think in all sports, I love the parent cams. It's like when somebody debuts in a sport, they'll pan out to the crowd. Here's their parents, and when they get their first, so that I love being able to see because the parent has put in just as much hard work and effort into getting their kid to that Olympic spot, because like you talked about the time and dedication, it wouldn't happen without them. So that's always cool to see. But Seth, I was 2 for that 96 Olympics, so I don't quite remember that, but that iconic video, I've definitely seen the video a lot.
I touched the 96 torch, so again, a little nostalgia for the 96 Olympics for me.
That's pretty cool.
Atlanta, Georgia.
All right, so that'll do it for everybody's top 5. Seth, hit us with a recap and some honorable mentions that you had.
Number 5 is Taekwondo, my nostalgia personal pick. Number 4, basketball. Number 3, track and field. 2, swimming, and 1, gymnastics. I do have some honorable mentions, which I would like to inform our listeners of. One of them, and this is in no particular order, so one of them is fencing. I do enjoy seeing people hit each other with small sticks. And face masks. So fencing is on there. Table tennis, also on my list. So good choice on that one. Sand volleyball, on my list. Water polo is on my list. I do enjoy some water polo. I have no idea what they're yelling the entire time, but I enjoy the crowd noise and the noise of the water and the splashing and the ball just going 90 miles an hour past the keeper.
Their ability to tread water for that long,
It's insane.
Yeah.
I can't tread water for 30 seconds. Like I can't imagine.
The lifeguard test almost took me out.
Right?
That treading water.
And they're doing it while trying to throw things and
like
completing
getting
objective.
hit.
Yes.
Yeah, getting hit and holding people off. Yeah, stiff arms in the water. And then my last honorable mention is hockey, which it's on ice, so you don't always associate that with Summer Olympics. But hockey.
That's another one that you just get to watch it at any point. So it just it doesn't feel the Olympic specialness to me quite like the other ones. That maybe if we had been allowed for like the Miracle on Ice or something like that, we'd feel differently. But because that is definitely an iconic Olympic moment. But it doesn't really tug at my emotions or anything because didn't watch it happen.
See, there are four movies specifically that really got me into Olympic hockey. Number one, Miracle, of course. But before that, you had Mighty Ducks. And then you had D2 Mighty Ducks, which was the American team. And that was like my boys out there. And then D3, it kind of went downhill on D3.
D3
but,
very good.
But, D2 is my favorite Mighty Ducks, actually. And it's the American version against Iceland. So Greenland is full of ice and Iceland is very nice. I will always remember the climates of those countries from that movie. All right, that's my top 5 and honorable mentions.
Solid honorable mention list. I'll go with mine. I said 5 beach volleyball, 4 table tennis, 3 gymnastics, 2 track, 1 swimming, and then honorable mentions. I said golf. That was a new addition, but again, you get to watch golf all the time, so that was what kept it off for me. Basketball, same thing. Love watching basketball, but you get to watch it all the time. Regular tennis, the full-size version of table tennis. I really enjoy that. Another one that I played some for fun. So it's like when you understand the game, I think it makes it more fun to watch. Fencing is another one that I said. I really enjoy watching that. It gets intense.
It does. It's super intense.
And then lastly, rowing. I like watching the rowing. That one's fun for me. I don't know why.
Rowing's a good one. I feel like it's like one of the bougier sports. Like
it's super bougie.
Like all the U.S. Olympians, they're like went to Harvard, Yale, Columbia, like down the line.
Oh yeah, they're all Ivy Leaguers that were on the rowing team at the Ivy League schools. That's the only way you become an Olympic rower. But nonetheless, it's interesting.
I always think of Army Hammer when I think of rowing.
Oh yeah, the Winklevi.
Yep, the Winklevi, exactly.
Yeah, that's all I think about when I hear rowing too. The Winklevoss twins.
I'm glad it's not just me.
All right. I'll go through my top 5 and my honorable mentions. So my number 5 was table tennis. Number 4 was diving. Number 3 was beach volleyball. Number 2 was swimming. And number 1 was gymnastics. And then my honorable mentions were road cycling. I think that's just really cool. I love the Tour de France. So when you can't get that, Olympics just as good. And then the canoe and kayak slaloms, I think those are so cool because it just
those are cool.
Like it's newer and not something you get to see every day unless you go down to like the Whitewater Center in Charlotte, which they have a course there, but you don't get to see it a ton. And then rugby sevens, which they added recently. That's neat just because, I mean, the U.S. rugby is just not as much of a thing, but it's such a huge deal like everywhere else. So I think it's nice to get to see that a little bit. And then regular tennis. My mom loves tennis, so we always have it on at the house when it's on, and love the Williams sisters. So got to watch them get gold all the time just because, they're the greatest of all time.
And the Bryan brothers, right? The Williams sisters, the Bryan brothers. I like that the Olympics is evolving and they are adding these sports. Like you mentioned the rugby. I like that they've added 3v3 basketball. Like, that's pretty cool. And
Yeah.
I like that they are adding like some of those X Games sports. Of course, for me, I like watching the X Games because I feel like that brings the best competition still. And it still means maybe more than even the Olympics at this point. But I feel like the more and the longer it's part of the Olympics, it'll start meaning more for those athletes.
Yeah, same thing
So-
with golf. I think a lot of the golfers didn't really take the Olympic golf all that seriously this
Super
year,
serious.
or
Yeah.
this year, last time that it happened, and even opted out of it.
Well, they're already. I mean, it's already an international sport, right? So I see where the rub comes on that one because they're competing against each other internationally all the time, and then there are those international team tournaments too. So I can see where that one, it might not have the nostalgia, but hey, if I can win an Olympic gold medal for something, I'm going all out no matter what. So that's just me.
Oh yeah. Well, thanks, Casey, for coming on. It was a fun episode. It was good to get to talk about the Olympics since we won't get to watch them this year.
Dream about next year.
Yes.
Fingers
I'm
crossed.
very excited for next year.
Hopefully,
The
fingers
build-up.
crossed. Yes. So this is a question I do not know the answer to. Do the 2024 Olympics stay in 2024 because of even with the year pushback?
I believe they're still planning on it. Yes.
Okay. I was just curious.
Or
Yeah.
no, 2024, yes, it'll stay. And then
Okay.
the winter ones will be in between.
Okay. I wasn't sure if they were going to try and if now Olympics were all going to be pushed back a year because I
Uneven years couldn't handle that.
No. And I know it's a leap year because it's an Olympic year. Like, that's literally how I know it's a leap year. So
I didn't
whenever
even-
the Olympics is, that's a leap year. Just take that away as a token of advice for you moving forward, Wes.
Well, now I know that. I did not know that before.
And I'm going to be all messed up next year because the Olympics are going to be gearing up. And I'm like, this is an odd year. What the heck's going on?
But yeah, that's 3 solid lists. One clearly better than the other. I'll let the listeners decide which one that was. Mine. But again, thank you, Casey, for coming on. Thank you for the topic. We really enjoyed it. And thanks, guys, for listening.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Casey.
Yeah.
We're out, y'all. Hey guys, it's Seth. When Wes and I decided to start our podcast, we used Anchor because it's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And they'll distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's essentially everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So go download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. So for the third week in a row, West has fallen short on the voting to me and the guest. So if you're not first, you're last, Wes, as we learned on last week's episode. Here is Wes's punishment for losing episode 9.
It's getting hot in here, so take off all your clothes. I am getting so hot. I'm done.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's
Every time. Oh, I hope you lose every week.
Thanks for supporting our show, 5 Over Friends.
We hope you'll join us next week as we debate a new topic.
Don't forget to submit topics on our latest Instagram post for a chance to be our next guest debating your top 5.
Subscribe, rate the show, and share with your friends to help us grow.
See
See y'all next week.